Good everyone, it's Robert here from Moonlight Garage with another video update for you. So the Clean Up the Shed project is ongoing. I've made the bench to give myself some more storage. I'm also working on a small parts cabinet to also just get away all the little bits and bobs and make everything able to be cleaner. You can see that I've started going on through the classical shelving, and my aim is to get rid of several of those units so that everything can just be a bit more open and clear. That said, working out here a fair bit more, I finally cracked it with my audio solution. So up until this point, I've been using the Sony N50 network speaker. It's probably 7 or 8 years old, and it's not much chop anymore. Furthermore, out here in the shed, I've always had really bad network coverage because my house is a fair way away and I'm in a big steel box. So I've got a few bits to try and resolve that. And I've kind of made most of that video last weekend, so I'm going to be cutting and pasting from some of those videos. But up until now, this thing has had really bad network connection, so I wasn't able to stream audio. What I had been doing then was plugging my phone into it directly, but every time the cable moved, it would get this big blast of static, and if you tried to get enough volume to cover the space, it was all distorted anyway. So, having had it with this thing, I finally went out and bought these, or rather two of them. So they're a PA speaker, 800 watt, 15-inch driver. Should be much better than this little guy. So two of those, and then the idea is I'm going to get a couple of brackets to go with them, and I'm going to mount them up in the corners of the shed. Probably is going to be a fairly tight fit from the measurements I've done, but I reckon I'll be able to make it work. And it's not like it's a professional installation, so near enough is good enough. Other than that, to actually then stream to those, because these are just like music speakers, they're not, they don't have Bluetooth or anything. I've got a tiny little computer monitor over in the corner that you can see in the back of the frame, and the idea is that I've got an old Apple TV. Originally I had a Chromecast for it. That thing wasn't really working for streaming either. The Apple TV is something I already had, so I'm going to chuck that on that little screen and then pump out some signal to the speakers from there. So let's get started. Oh yeah, I also had a few people complain that hey Robert, you're doing boring wood stuff, when are you going to get back to doing car things? Well, I had a package come in just this week, and that is some new Shockworks suspension for the street car. So planning to get wriggle on and get those installed in the not too distant future. I've also got a little pile of other little bits and pieces that I'm going to do to the car at the same time. So if that's you, then don't forget to like and subscribe so you can see when the next video comes out. Okay, so I've gone and laid out all the things that we're going to need for today. So I've already started unpacking this. This is the TP-Link, I think it's the 510, which is the high bandwidth outdoor CPE. I'll go into a little bit how they work in a minute. It comes with its own power over Ethernet adapter, which just means that when you go to install it, we're only going to have the one Ethernet port up at the switch, and then power and all of the LAN signal will come through that one, and also a ground in this case, because I've gone ahead and bought shielded cables. So the idea is that we'll stick this out on the antenna outside. We're going to use the tech screws that have the seal on them so that we don't get too much water coming through the hole. And then a longer cable to get from the CPE to a little wireless router that I'm going to use. And the idea is that this one will act as a bridge to the one that I already have on the house, which didn't really work for me before. And then once those two are connected, I can use the normal Wi-Fi router, my network speaker, and whatnot will connect to it while I'm in the shed, which means that I'll have good internet, and I should be able to, run tunes essentially just from my phone, which can stay in my pocket or whatever, and I don't have to plug it into the speaker like I do right now, which is a real pain. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start installing all this, and I'll show you a few things along the way. A couple of things to keep in mind with these. They come with hardware that's designed for either wood or brick, and we're using steel, so we're going to go ahead with our tech screws. The CPE is designed to essentially just cable tie onto the side of something like this, so that should be working perfectly for us. A couple of notes about these. You'll notice that the swing arm is essentially held in place with these nuts that have the square receptacle. If you over tension these, you will round out the hole that will hold it in place, and then you'll never be able to get any good tension on it. So don't go overboard with those. The other thing you'll have to keep in mind is that with this bracket, you can't actually get to all of the points with your impact driver or whatever with the thing in place. So you need to kind of leave it loose enough that you can go ahead and install those points.
Probably even need to completely remove to get to the center hole if you're going to do all three. So yeah, don't go ahead and tension everything up at the right angle and then try and install it later, because you're just going to be disappointed. Aside from that, it's a very straightforward install. Okay, so I've gone ahead and skipped to having the CPE installed on top of the shed. With the antenna mount and it being wide, it is fairly low key, so it's not going to drag too much attention, which is good. Not particularly exciting here. The only additional thing that I did was drill a hole into the side of the antenna mount, just so that the cable tie won't slip over time and have the CPE sort of gradually sink lower and lower. It is aimed at the other CPE on the house, and so hopefully once I power it all up, we should get a connection to the bridge.
Well, I guess the only thing to do now is to connect everything up. And so as you can see here, I've got the cables coming in from the roof, the PoE box, and then from the PoE box into the router itself. And then I've also connected the Apple TV directly to a LAN Cat6 cable. So that goes back up the roof and across the wall to the Apple TV. So that should all be connected. Let's get moving on to those speakers.
So I'm up the ladder in the corner now. I've got my bracket out of the packaging, and essentially it's going to go on the wall something like this. Now, it's got 5 mounting holes on it. That's for up to a 35 kilogram speaker. These things are not even 10, so in order to get it further away from the wall, I'm going to just mount it by 3, like the sort of inboard most 3. And I think that'll still give me plenty of strength, and that'll get me just a little bit further away from the wall. As I said, the speakers aren't tiny, so I think if I were to put it all the way in, that would probably be the difference between me being able to fit it or not fit it. So I'm going to give that a go, and I'll update you in a minute. So bracket's now on the wall. That's really solid. I'm not worried about that going anywhere. Let's go and grab the speaker. All right, and there it is, up on the stand. As you can see, it did end up being quite a tight fit there with the wall, but it does work just a little bit of clearance so that we're not actually touching, even with a bit of a wobble. I've already gone and installed the cables to connect everything, and using a process of video magic, I went and installed the other one on the other wall too. So we're ready to give it a test. Okay, so I've got the Apple TV connected. I've got a bit of sample music set ready to go on my phone. Oh wow, check out how clean the drill press is. Anyway, so I've got it set at about a half volume on the speakers and about a half volume on my phone. So that would be 1/4 of what the speakers could put out. Let's give that a quick test. Cool. All right, so I mean, that is more than volume that I need in this space, and we're like, as I said, 1/4 of what the speakers could do. So I'm actually going to have to climb up the ladder and turn them down. But yeah, so far so good. That should be a much needed improvement on that tiny little speaker I had in the corner. Okay, so the speakers are set up and mounted on the wall. Streaming is connecting and working really well to get the whole system tied together, which is a huge improvement. Between the new network hardware now, I've got like full reception both here and because of the bridge between here and the house and back. So I can actually leave my phone in my pocket, walk to and from, and the music never stops out here, which is really good. Having my phone in my pocket is awesome. I never used to be able to. So if I ever needed to take a photo of something or look something up on the internet, I had to go get my phone, unplug it from the music, walk over, take the photo, do whatever it was going to do, and then go back, plug it back in, get everything started again. And whenever it was unplugged, I had this huge loud static sound came through the speaker. It was really horrible. So I'm really looking forward to using it like this instead of the sort of botched connection that I had last time. So what am I going to keep doing out here? Well, you saw the shockwave suspension that's turned up, so I'll be mounting that to my street car fairly soon. In the meantime, I'm going to keep working on this small parts cabinet, and once that's assembled, I'll be able to remove all the screws and odds and ends and put them in somewhere permanent, which will let me further clean up the shed and get this thing much more functional, which I'm really looking forward to. If you want to see any of those progress videos, make sure you like and subscribe. And I guess this is Robo at Moonlight Garage. I'll see you in the next one.